Hopefully you can all see that now. So I'm going to aim to offer a supplier's perspective on the role of digital resources and the engagement data they generate, and how that can help libraries build sustainable collections, not only to meet the evolving student needs, but also align with the wider institutional strategy. So I'm going to begin. I thought it'd be interesting just to share some research papers that have recently published in the area to frame the conversation, and then share some of the activities that Kortext have been up to, and how we percolate that through data to help libraries make impact with the wider university, as well as through the student experience. So as a supplier, it's really important that we maintain our North Star, which is always about improving the learning experience, which in turn should generate better student outcomes. So it's really important that we stay abreast with the changes in the marketplace that are out there, and really listen to what's happening and make sure that we're giving you guys the tools that you need to be able to answer some of these challenges that you're facing. So the first paper that I wanted just to share with you, this was published in Wonky. It was a blog by Jim Dickinson, just reflecting on the Student Academic Experience Survey. And this came out last week. And there's some really staggering surprises in there, that it really focuses on the fact that a decade ago, about 30% of students were in paid employment during term time. At the time, I would expect that was probably seen as quite high, but it's increased to 79.6%, increased by 79.6%, to well over 2/3 of students now are saying that they're in paid employment during term time. And that really puts a challenge on their ability to study and balance all these competing demands that they've got. I think what I was reflecting on as well is, for any of you who are old enough to remember the young ones, this mantra of the students opting into education to avoid paying tax for a further 3 years are well and truly gone. This is a very different student that we've got. So our mandate really is to help meet the challenges that you guys are meeting with this changing environment. So it's little wonder that students are using generative AI, ChatGPT, to try and meet some of these challenges that they're facing. So there was a paper by John Freeman, policy manager at HEPI, just talking about the scale of adoption that's taken place of generative AI by students, but also the unprecedented nature of some of these changes that are hitting higher education that haven't been seen ever before. And so the challenge for us is to harness the capabilities of generative AI and to really help prepare the students for the future world of work that they're facing. So finally, we published a white paper in Wonky that looked at the contributions of senior leadership representatives of universities, the challenges they're facing, and how we can help universities meet these challenges as a supplier. And really, the conclusions are that we need to help you meet these challenges at pace. It needs to be data-led, and really focus on the fact that libraries are central and custodians of content, and they have the richest data set of materials. So universities are becoming more and more concerned with data. That data is becoming centralized. And where we see successful digital transformation strategies, the libraries are central to those conversations and are in the room as part of those conversations. So here are some examples of what we're doing at the moment to meet these challenges at pace. So we put a lot of investment in making sure that the student experience is consistent across the different platforms that they study. Imagine your student coming back from a long shift and they have 2 hours of study at home once they've finished. They need to be able to access this content in multiple different devices and have a consistent experience. So leveraging Gen AI, we have our Study Plus platform here in the screenshot, where students, if English is their second language, can translate content. They can generate questions and answers or summarize that really lowers the barriers to entry for them to absorb content. This experience is consistent and agnostic across the different license types that you might select. So if this is supplied on a 3-user concurrency license, or if they're opening OER content or OA content, the experience is the same. And in fact, students can open their own DRM-free content through the app and use the same tools. Another area where we're putting a lot of focus is on accessibility. So we're very mindful of the fact that we are representing you when we are making these materials accessible to students, and it reflects on the choices of the library in terms of the resources and the accessibility that's available to them. From what I've observed, the benchmark for accessibility guidelines tends to be about 2.1 level AA. Over the spring, we invested in an external audit of our accessibility features. And because we wanted to reach the 2.2 level AA, we had to implement over 100 changes to our reader to meet those guidelines. So there's huge daylight now between our reader that was released last week compared to where we were. And we'll continue to make investments in accessibility because it's such an important area for you to meet those needs of widening participation. And so where does the analytics apply to meeting the sector needs at pace? We've talked about how the universities are more and more focused on data, and when that data is being centralized, how the library is so important to be able to compile these reports that, when successful with digital transformation, affects the ability of the university to score well in their TEF scores or to meet their objective of accessibility and APP reports. So I thought it would be useful just to share the findings of the 2024 Kortext Annual Librarian Survey. We have our 2025 survey results to be published very soon, but looking just a year ago, it was already clear that the need for analytics is increasing, and it's only going to continue on that trend. But the other thing that I think is worth reflecting on is that it goes beyond the counter 5 stats. And so this is the feedback we're getting from you guys, is that it's not just about what content has been used, but how the content has been used and how that is affecting learner behavior. So a really good example of where we want to meet the needs of the library sector and work in partnership is a quote here from Libby Homer. So she's the Director of Student and Library Services at Anglia Ruskin University. And it's been a really successful partnership where, using the data, the library has successfully been able to help the university inform on their TEF submissions. It's helped in intervention and access and participation plans. I'll try and say that a bit more slowly, to help support the students. But also the data is really important when looking at impacts of these initiatives and when you're needing funding from the university for these initiatives, but to be able to prove it through frameworks such as theory of change to ensure that the benchmarks that you set are continuously improving. Okay, so just to look at some of the working examples of the analytics that we provide, whether it's using individual module data so that subject librarians can have conversations with academics about engagements, to look for high engagement modules, low engagement modules, all the way through to making informed decisions about distance learning programs, A good example I always talk about is working with a customer. We were looking at the engagement in Singapore, and there was high engagement on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now, what did that mean? It either meant that that's when classes were being run, but it could also mean that it's an opportunity for the university to feed into some of its strategies around distance learning programs and optimal times to deliver content, knowing what the study habits of those students in different regions were. Quite often what I will see is I will see at any university, 70% of the engagement within the UK is from outside of the city that the university is based at. So it really gives the library the opportunity to demonstrate the value of supplying content online and ebooks, because it demonstrates the ability for students to be able to access that content without coming on campus. So these are the questions that we're trying to answer and help the sector answer and meet those challenges that you're meeting. So whether it's looking for personalized experience through the ebook and measuring the impact of that, through to acquisition strategies and ensuring that you're purchasing content in the right license type, or leveraging effectively open education resources and identifying areas of low engagements or high engagements where the strategy can be changed. And so finally, wrapping up, this comes from the top down. And I think Kortext, what's special about Kortext is the CEO is also the founder. Anyone who's had the pleasure of meeting him will know just how passionate he is about students and learner outcomes. And this is his commitment really to understanding how we want to partner with libraries and institutions better, knowing that it's a mixed modal approach and that every institution is different, and it's our responsibility as we invest in these products and enhancements that we know that you're all navigating different challenges, and it's for us to adapt to that. And right from the top down, we confirm our commitment to doing that. So thank you. That concludes the introduction back into the afternoon sessions after your lunch break. I hope that was useful and interesting, and just wanted to share some insights about the sector, about the environment, and what we're trying to do to help you navigate what is a very challenging and tough environment, without going back to the boat metaphors from the previous session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. That was very interesting.